Closure of same. I am sure that everyone is caught up on their reading from this weekend. All of the editorials providing false information about my intentions here today. This weekend turned into quite a whirlwind based on assumptions and the chaos created by Melanie and Eric. I'm looking for discussion today to inform you about what's going on in the recent open records request and what it potentially means to the county. I received a public information request on December the 1st asking for 6 things, one of which was a copy of my procedure manuals for the entire department. There are 700 pages of step-by-step fraud preventative measures in our procedures guide. Here's where the concern lies. With these guides, you have the ability to issue accounts payable and jury checks. Enter and process payroll checks from beginning to end. You have the processes to replace a check. How to input and utilize all anti-fraud preventative and detective measures. And also instructions for recording revenues. What does this mean to us, to you, to the taxpayer? It means that if we give out this data, we could be allowing for fraud, or fraud preventions could be bypassed and forged checks could be cashed. Employee leave banks could be altered. Funds could be removed. Social security numbers could be exposed. Payroll deductions could be manipulated. And this is just a few of the examples that we've run into. There's a ton of scenarios out there. I have reached out to several several of my peers, other county treasurers within the state of Texas. They all have had the same response. They've never had this request. None of us could find a precedent for this. And so we do not feel like we should release it.
Haven't you requested an AG hearing?
I'm sorry?
Have you not requested an AG hearing?
No, we have not as of yet.
Our decision, you have not.
Right.
And just Fisher, just to correct something that is not quite correct. This was the 10-day letter was sent to the Attorney General last Friday to protect our client and the client's interests as we're required by law to obey the Chapter 552 of the Government Code. So that initial step has been taken last Friday. The next step has to be taken this Friday to brief the issue, and then the Attorney General will make that determination. Not my office, not this court, anybody else.
JD, does this court have any authority to weigh in on what should or shouldn't be released via open records?
No, I don't think there's any authority.
But don't you want to know the risk if we do it? You set the budget. Isn't it really important that when it comes time to pay the bills, the funds are there?
I feel like this is political, and I don't want the court in the middle of it. I think this should be handled in the Texas Attorney General's office.
I feel like what you've seen, if I had come up here and you hadn't have seen all of the social media hoopla this weekend, you would have a totally different take on it. I do feel like you need to be informed and know what's going on.
Stephanie, is there a way to release the information to redact sensitive information out?
No. And there is
It's 700 pages. I went through initially trying to redact information that was sensitive. I'm Judy Trango. I'm the Deputy Treasurer. I was working to redact this information. I spent 2.5 hours and came to the conclusion that I would have to redact 90% of what's in some of these manuals. How is that reasonable? Is that
Look, I'm not, and I want to be clear, I wasn't saying you were being political. Just the issue is political, and I don't really want the court.
the issue is that the risk is real.
All right, I understand that. Let's see what the Attorney General's opinion is.
Right. And I was tasked out by the county attorney to write the letter on my own. So I have been doing some research over the past several days. And we have found AG remarks. And I won't read all of this to you, but the first paragraph, this is one of the things that we found. The Open Records Act does not require governmental bodies to disclose information that would breach the security of government computers or computer files any more than it requires them to disclose the combinations of the safes that might be on their premise. So what that's telling you is is yes, the contents of the safe are subject to open records and should be made readily available, but not the combination to the safe. I have a duty. I was elected and sworn to protect and serve our assets.
Okay, so I don't think there's any action that we need to take for that. Obviously, it's an AG decision, so we might understand.
JD, can you assist in the drafting of that letter for an AG's opinion?
Yeah, so everybody can hear this.
Maybe.
Yes, as Mr. Davenport said, the open records request came in. Let me put this in just a bit of perspective, if I might. The county as a whole, county government, is between 6,000 and 8,000 or 9,000 open records requests each year. Okay. My office actually touches maybe 8%, maybe 9% of those, because we're not the holder of any records except our own. For example, the Sheriff's Department has a great organization set up. They handle all their open records requests. But anytime any entity, whether that's the Sheriff's Department, the auditor, the treasurer, anyone, you gentlemen here, feels you should not release something, then you consult us. We provide advice and counsel with these. So in the last 5 years that I've been in office, the county has gotten between 30,000 and 40,000 open records requests, and we personally have touched about 10% of those. And we don't get to decide if it's public or private or not. We advise the client because we have extensive knowledge. I have 3 lawyers that are very well versed in the Open Records Act. It's actually called the Public Information Act, and it's a companion to the Texas Open Meetings Act. They're back-to-back sections in the government code. So our opinion on this one was very clear. John McKinney, you gentlemen all know John McKinney, one of my assistant county attorneys. He has spent countless hours on this, one of the most honorable, very knowledgeable guy. But we've also had other attorneys in the office looking at it as well. And so the initial deal was that information ought to be redacted. This is not voluminous compared to a lot of these we handle. We get other open records requests. Somebody wants 10 years worth of data. That may be 10,000 pages. The Attorney General doesn't care how voluminous it is or anything else. And you can charge for the time you spend. That's all spelled out. You can charge for the number of pages. You can charge for the amount of time to do it. But the Attorney General is committed to ensure an open and transparent government, and we are bound as lawyers to follow that. So when Ms. Davenport, her feeling is, and we don't hold the records. These are not our records. So that elected official, that department head, whoever makes that determination. So once she made the determination not to release them, that was made on the 9th or 10th day. And you're required to send that up to the AG. We just sent what's called a 10-day letter, if you will, to put the AG on notice that the holder of these records is not wanting them to release. So the AG has that letter now in hand. There's another letter and a brief that has to be sent by this Friday outlining all the reasons of why Ms. Davenport thinks the information should not be released. We have dealt with records just like this. We had one in August from another department, didn't want to release one word of it. We did everything. Our advice was it should be released in its entirety after the redactions were made. And so what happens now, this document in its entirety will be sent to the Attorney General's office with no redactions. The AG is entitled to look at every single bit of it, and they will make the decision. So any decision you make today as a board, if y'all wanted to stamp it confidential, private, top secret, it's of no positive consequence because I don't make that determination and you don't. The Attorney General will make that. So the Attorney General has 45 days from the time they get that request, 45 business days. What we typically see is a calendar lapse of about 60 days. And the most recent one we handled, that was a very similar thing with a lot of information in it. Attorney General came back and told that department head, release every bit of it. And that's what was done, and that was our advice at the get-go. So that's all the situation here. Somebody else makes the call not to release it, Attorney General will make the determination.
And that request has been made. And I understand. I mean, I think we should open to the public anything we have. But if there are sensitive documents that could create ability for someone, potentially someone who's already committed fraud.
Right. And statutorily, I have monthly reporting that I provide to the court. and readily make that information available. And anytime I receive an open records request, I try to accommodate whatever the request is, and if we don't have it in the format that they want it, we will try to make it happen and get it in the format that they need it. And 9 times out of 10, we get a thank you. So we know we're doing it right. But with this, it was just really important that you all understand the implications of what could happen if these documents are released.
So to make sure I understand this clearly, if the AG's office come back and says, you have to release everything, could items still be redacted, or would they have to put the document in its entirety?
What's gonna happen now is the requester, and I think in this case, everybody knows the requester is running for county treasurer, there's no secret about that. But the requester, from the outset, agreed to redactions, whatever Ms. Davenport wanted to make in terms of redactions. But
She wanted me to agree to, she agreed to redact, but I had to tell her what I redacted and why. So, you're still building the pathway there.
No, that's.
And then I did offer to try to accommodate her by letting her come in and view the documents. All of this has been done through the county attorney's office. And so they set up the meeting, and then John McKinney reaches out to me and says, hey, we gave you bad advice. If she comes in, you're relinquishing your right to say that this is privileged information.
Let me clarify that just a bit. Mr. McKinney did not give bad advice. This issue was coming to a head last Friday. And because the meeting was about to happen in a matter of hours. So we reached out to the Attorney General again to confirm what our thoughts were. And it makes sense when you think about it. If I let anybody see one of the documents she's talking about, you can sit in an office and pour through them. That constitutes a release, the way the Attorney General looks at it. And a release to one is a release to all. And so that's what the issue is. The Attorney General, I mean, we've dealt with them thousands of times. They are going to come back and they will tell you what you can redact. You probably have red marks on it saying what you can redact. And they're going to tell you what has to be released.
But as you see on the screen, there have also already been opinions released that this type of information is confidential.
Well, I think it's obvious we just need to wait on AG opinion.
Yeah, right.
I don't
Right, we need to follow the process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you should be seeing an AG opinion. We don't control the AG, but they've got 45 business days. So roughly 2 months from this Friday.
Again, I don't even think it's a court matter. I don't think it has anything to do with the court.
My intent today was just to inform you of what was going on and let you know of the risk.
Thank you.